Saturday, I did a video on why, um, pretty much I break down why I think ECOWAS, well, we know why ECOWAS should not intervene military to Niger, right? Which is a very, very, very bad thing, especially for Africa, right? So today's Monday. I'm glad that the Nigerian Senate have said, look, find a diplomatic way. We don't think this is a good thing for you guys to go in military intervene. Um, so I'm watching it close, really interested in it as most Africans are around the world. Um, Curious, wants to know what's happening. There's a lot of gameplay going around. Some people are saying this, some people are saying that. I've been watching a lot, and I find this video with Al Jazeera. I thought it was a very interesting video. Can we trust everything they say? Probably not, but let's watch it and let's see, and then I'll do a little breakdown. Yeah.
In Niger, where the deadline has expired for coup leaders to step down and restore the ousted president. The West African bloc, Ecowas, has warned it could take what it calls all necessary measures if President Bazoum is not released from detention and reinstated. Niger's military leaders remain defiant. They have closed airspace and put border forces on high alert. They say Niger is ready to defend itself and a warning against any foreign aggression.
And they should, right? I mean, if someone comes to your house, trying to take over, you should defend yourself by any means necessary, and they have the right to do so, right? So, I mean, it's common sense. It's self-interest. You would defend yourself, right? You just came in, you've got power, you want to maintain that power. Does it? Who wants to give away power, right?
According to the information we have, forces of a foreign power are preparing an act of aggression against Niger and its people in coordination with ECOWAS and armed terrorist groups. Faced with the threat of intervention that is becoming clearer through preparation from a neighboring country, Niger's airspace is closed as of today for all airports until further notice. Any attempts to violate national airspace will be met with an energetic and instantaneous response.
Well, Niger's ousted Prime Minister has told Al Jazeera that there is still hope for a diplomatic resolution to the crisis, but he's also calling for military intervention by ECOWAS if the coup leaders refuse to relinquish control.
The coup can be a serious problem for the entire region, and the outcome will all depend on the nature of the intervention. This is what
The coup is already a serious problem. He would say this, right?
why I can say we should trust the military experts from ECOWAS and the mechanisms for this intervention that we are expecting if they decide to go ahead with that decision. If a military intervention doesn't take place, a true tragedy will happen in the region if this coup succeeds. As you know, 3 coups have happened in West Africa, and this will be the 4th. And if we let it succeed, expect more coups in the future. Niger is technically operating as a bloc that is standing and defending the expansion of the armed groups towards the south.
We have 2 correspondents covering the political crisis in Niger. Bernard Smith will have the French reaction from Paris in just a moment, but let's bring in Charles Stratford. He's been following the developments from the Senegalese capital, Dakar, and we've heard from the Niger's ousted Prime Minister talking about what's at stake, not just for Niger, but for ECOWAS too. With that deadline now gone on Sunday, Charles, what are ECOWAS's options?
Well, what I think is important to emphasise is that just because that deadline has expired, it by no means suggests that we're going to be seeing any kind of immediate military response from ECOWAS. There are still a lot of hurdles that ECOWAS have to jump over. We understand that there are still discussions going on looking for a peaceful and diplomatic solution to this crisis. According to our sources in Nigeria, ECOWAS are expected to hold a special meeting on Thursday to further discuss the crisis, to explore all other avenues other than that military option that, as you say, would be a last resort. And we also know that ECOWAS are facing serious problems as well. The respective countries that could be part of some sort of military intervention in trying to get clearance, green lights from their respective legislative bodies, their parliaments, for the deployment of troops in any kind of mission. We saw the last couple of days a refusal by Nigeria's Senate to take up the President of Nigeria's proposal.
Well done, Nigeria Senate. Well done for for doing your job.
Of a deployment of troops. Many senators in the Nigerian Senate saying, look, we don't want to be involved in any kind of military intervention. There's too much at stake. We've got too much on our hands in dealing with groups like Boko Haram and other armed groups operating inside Nigeria. And many analysts will say, look, if Nigeria are having problems getting their governments on board for any kind of deployment, then that spells big difficulties potentially for other governments like Ivory Coast, like Guinea, like Sierra Leone, like Liberia, because without Nigeria, which is expected to take the lead in any kind of potential military intervention, it's going to be very difficult for anything like that to actually happen. But as I say, we are still quite a long way off that yet as diplomatic efforts continue.
Yeah, and very difficult because of the great risks involved. What are they, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of right to say, look, we all know who the superpower and who should be the superpower of West Africa, and that is Nigeria, you know. And I know a lot of people disagree, and Nigeria, I say this a lot, and I believe in it, and I think they are the future leaders of West Africa, you know, and they have the stronger economy, they have a better military, and you know, the Nigerians, the most cleverest people in West Africa. And I'm not saying this because I'm not even Nigerian, right? I strongly believe right now. I mean, there was hope for Ghana and South Africa, but look where they end up turning to. And again, my opinion, it's very important I say that. But I think Nigeria is the only strong player in West Africa. And they have the right, because they have the right to be the strong player because of the progress they've made, right? Comparing to other countries, Nigeria is doing well. And in the coming years, you know, it's a superpower. If they fix their house in order, right? Of course, they have their own little internal issues between the North and the South and so on. But these are all little things that have been there for a while. And some people, of course, have taken that and they want to make it into a big thing. Hopefully, you know, Nigerians are clever. They're not stupid. Come on. We're dealing with people who are intelligent, who thinks for themselves, who have a lot of self-confidence. So, but let me go back to the video.
Well, there are a whole host of risks. I think it's really important to recognise as well what analysts are constantly pointing to, and that is the level of support for this coup inside Niger. Over the last couple of days, we've seen huge crowds, tens of thousands of coup supporters gathering in the capital, Niamey. So, of course, any kind of military intervention there has massive risk, a reaction from those supporters. And we've had statements from the coup leaders in Niger telling their supporters to prepare for a potential military action by ECOWAS. Then, of course, there is the risk of contagion, of a spread of any kind of intervention right the way across the region, because we already know that Mali and Burkina Faso have already said that any intervention inside Niger by ECOWAS would constitute a declaration of war on those countries too. And
I'll stop it there. And he's right. I mean, why would the people of Niger not intervene and come in? Like, look at the population, right? It's about 27 million or more, right? Look at in the 1952, look at where they were. There were 3 million, right? Well, 2.7 million. And look at 2023. It's gone to 27, right? So the population is growing crazy, right? So by 2080 or 2098, you're looking at 163 million, right? And most of them, guess what? Young people, you know, frustrated young people. Why would they not support any any military that comes in, right? I mean, time will tell if the military will succeed or not. I mean, it's probably the same on their job. So may that be. But for now, these guys are in power, so they're gonna remain in power, and I don't think they're gonna let go of their power, which makes sense, right? So the country is growing population wise. It's a look at that 163, right? And then look how it's grown from 28 before it was 12. So there's a massive spike, right? If you look at this chart of population them growing, right? So let's go back to that video.
Interestingly, there's been a statement this morning put out by the Malian military leaders saying that there is a joint Burkina Faso and Malian delegation on its way to Niamey to show, in their words, solidarity with the Niger coup leaders. And then, of course, there is the huge risk of a further deterioration in security across the region because of the various armed groups that operate there, Al-Qaeda and ISIS, these groups that have committed attacks that have killed thousands of people in the...
What's Al-Qaeda doing in Niger? What's Al-Qaeda? What are they doing in Niger, right? What are they doing in Niger, right? It's crazy, right? So you have your guys from the Middle East coming into West to Africa for what? What? Are they looking for a nice place to stay?
the last decade or so, and basically forced millions to flee their homes and across borders. So, of course, this is very much on the minds of those ECOWAS officials as we understand these discussions continue.
All right, Charles, thank you for that. Charles Stratford with the latest live in Dakar. Let's bring in Bernard Smith now. He's joining us live from the French capital. And France watching developments very closely, Bernard. What are they saying?
France.
They're saying, we want our uranium back. We want the people of Niger to go back home and do nothing. And let us continue have things supposed to, I'm only joking, but that's what France would like. They're so arrogant, ain't they? Okay, let's, they think, the world belongs to them, and then we should just play along.
And the rest of Europe and the United States watching developments very closely. France has suspended aid payments to Burkina Faso, and that is after Burkina Faso and Mali both said that they would consider any military intervention in Niger as a declaration of war on them as well. So France trying to use its aid muscle to punish in a way Burkina Faso. Now France has actually just announced a suspension of flights to Ouagadougou. Niger also runs the risk of losing aid if this military coup continues. The US has already suspended some development aid programs to Niger, although it's continuing with humanitarian programs. And all of that, the French, the risk of Niger of losing that development aid if the military intervention continues.
All right, Bernard, thank you for that. Bernard Smith with a view from Paris.
You always question why, what's with the aid? Like, what benefit? What has it really benefit the so-called people that they've given this aid to, right? And then you just think, like, what road have they built out of this aid, right? I mean, I just look at the whole thing, like 500. Why are you giving them money if it hasn't worked in the past? Why do you keep giving them money? That makes no sense. It's like, if someone is bad with money, why would you want to give them more? Supposedly you're giving them to help them, but come on, we all know where this money is going back to again.
Janet McAlligott is a former White House official. She says the role of ECOWAS has changed over the past decades.
It was supposed to be something akin to, what the Europeans have done. It was supposed to be about trade, putting down barriers, and being a much more united West African bloc of 15 nations. But it's become kind of a policeman because things are rather difficult. The new president of ECOWAS, of course, is the president of Nigeria, which shares border to about 1,000 miles.
She's talking about the Treaty of Lagos. Well, it wasn't supposed to be a policeman. I think she's right. She's kind of right and wrong to say that. I mean, it was supposed to be it was only supposed to be a way for them to help each other economically, right? I mean, it's in the title. It now they of course they've put themselves in position where, in the past, like, you have people who wants to stay in power and remain in power, and the ECOWAS wasn't their job, right? I mean, the African Union, they even talk about silencing the gun. This was like, I think, 2008 and so on, and the guns are still going on. So, it's a bit of a, but what can they do? Because they have all these guys, these players, these external players coming in and undermining them. So of course they have no choice but to police themselves. They trying to. I think ECOWAS and the African Union genuinely have, of course, they're Africans, no matter how we claim these people are dumb, they're puppet, they're not all that stupid. They know. But at the same time, what can they really do when you're powerless and I wouldn't say completely powerless, but I mean, might is right, right? We shouldn't play these games, these illusions, these fantasies. We know what's going on, and we keep lying to ourselves. But anyway, let's listen to her.
With Niger. So when you look at the credibility, you're looking at the credibility also of Nigeria, which has 223,000 troops. So bringing troops in would fall very much on the shoulders of the Nigerians, of which.
So yeah, she's kind of right. Nigeria has got the biggest military, it makes sense because they have more people, better economy, and so on. But I wanted to read. This is from The Guardian, by the way. It's a strange that The Guardian is writing this type of piece, right? So it says that Niger crisis shows France quasi-empire in Africa is finally crumbling. Which, come on, I mean, eventually that's the whole point, right? Because people are tired. People are really tired, right? So this Mohamed Bazoum guy was elected as a president, and it's strange because I think they say he's 1% Arab, whereas majority of more than 50% of Niger, it's pretty much Hausa, right? They're all Hausa, right? So there's a crowd chanting "Down with France." So this is when the coup started. They targeted the embassy last week, smashing windows and setting fire to the perimeter wall, right? He's still under house arrest, and his close allies in Paris fear that the safety of Westerners could no longer be guaranteed. So, I mean, for a country that's milking you, claim to be an ally, it's a bit of a it's a bit of a joke, right? And then, of course, it doesn't help. The president of France says that we will not tolerate any attack against France and its interest, right? In another man country, right? You're going into someone else's country and you're saying you will not tolerate your interest, right? Which, again, if anybody was hurt, retaliation would come immediately, and then, of course, the word compromisingly. Which, why would a president say that? You're just making things more. You have a young people who are frustrated in the country. They hate you because you've been there for nearly 500 years and you haven't done nothing, and all you're doing is sucking the country out. Not just one country, all the neighboring country around them, right? So people are angry, and it makes sense for people to be angry because France still has they still have a military base of 1,500 troops in Niger. So does Niger have any base in France of 1,500 troops? The answer, of course, is no. Why is that? Because we know why is that, right? So someone like Charles de Gaulle, which was a very he was a very interesting man himself. But this is what most people are saying now, right? Niger, for example, is the world's seventh largest uranium producer, and France, which rely on nuclear energy for around 60% of its power, is a key importer, right? So, of course, we know it's about resource for France. France don't really care who's in power. As long as their resources are coming in, they're happy. We know that that's the truth. Does France really care about Africans? Even in France, the answer is probably no. They pretend they do. I mean, they're very good at doing it for their when come down to election and stuff like that. But I mean, this is all information you guys know, and this is what's look at that. So despite receiving up to 2 billion a year in development assistance, why? I mean, where does 2 billion go? A country that receive up to 2 billion a year, right? Where is the money? I mean, that's what most people. I don't. Is there a bridge to show where this money has gone to? At 2 billion, so you're giving people 2 billion, right? Where is the money gone, right? And then of course the EU was due to give them 503 million, all the way to 2000. They've stopped that. Of course they will stop that, right? So what does this mean for France? It means that your time is pretty much up, and people are fed up, right? People are tired. Young people in France, there's a lot of are tired, and people, especially in West Africa, are tired. There's a lot of young people in Niger that are also tired, right? They're tired. They're tired of the noise. Most of them want to do some work. Most of them want to have a work. Most of them are looking for way out, and the population is growing. So I'm glad that that Niger is not military. There is no military intervention, which is a good thing. And I think West Africa definitely need more peace, right? Most of us are tired of what's going on. Most of us want to utilize these resources to benefit Africa for Africans, right? And who knows? There'll be what the future hold. Nobody knows. Would France and join their so-called allies to militarily intervene? Possibly. Are France cooking something? France is always cooking something. It's the French. They're always cooking, right? So we'll know. We'll know in the coming days. And I think there's a lot of frustration, especially with. I mean, it's like most people look at it. Your bias is look. It makes sense, right? It's self-interest. It's one of those things that no matter where you are in this planet, you're gonna do your self-interest first. And if you put someone else's self-interest before yours, you're a child, right? We're not living underneath a rock now. It's 2023. That anything that happens in Kenya would pop up on YouTube. So the world is getting smaller and smaller, right? There's no you know there's no time for secrecy now. Everything is in the open. Whatever happens, it will come out. And people are getting frustrated and frustrated. And look at what's happening in Europe, right? Look at what's happening in France. I mean, not a long time ago, they killed, not supposedly, they did kill a young boy of a Nigerian descent. And look at where that gone to, right? So France has a lot of thinking to do, right? Did they back off all the way from Africa and say, you know what, we're going to join our allies and punish Russia for meddling in our cooking pot, for to overcome these Africans. You know, I mean, China's been so-called quiet, and the African Union is quiet, but so far so interesting. You know, and you know, it's usually, again, I'm not really into politics, and I thought this Niger thing has been really, and I'm glued to it. Honestly, I'm reading and watching as much as anybody. Yeah, so I'll leave it there. Tell me what you think. You know, like and subscribe. I want to do more videos like this, and I think I should express my opinions. And a lot of people been telling me to, you know, to come out and express my opinion. So for, you know, well, I'm just continue doing more videos. Hopefully you like, you know, subscribe, like, and then, you know, more videos to come. I promise I will try and upload more videos. I know I'm super busy and stuff. Well, thank you guys, and you know, take care. Bye bye.